If you've ever handed a young child an iPad, chances are you've seen them happily engaged in the colorful world of Toca Boca. And even if you haven't directly encountered one of their many apps, you may recognize their distinctive aesthetic from viral YouTube videos, the Toca Life animated series, or character merchandise at major retailers. That's because Toca Boca's world has permeated mobile gaming and even pop culture. The company's most popular app, Toca Life World, has grown into a cornerstone franchise of Spin Master's digital gaming division, and it represents just one part of Toca Boca's substantial impact and legacy. While many know and love the brand, few may be familiar with its origin story. The vision can be traced back to one entrepreneur, Bjorn Jeffery. Traced back to his lifelong passion for technology, creativity, and his Toca Life. It was early 2009 in Sweden. Bjorn Jeffery was working for Bonnier, a legacy publishing company. When rumors swirled that Apple was poised to launch the iPad, Bonnier tasked Bjorn and his coworker Emil Overmar with researching how this new device could work with their existing magazines, books, and other literature. Together, they created a concept called Mag Plus, an app functioning as a digital magazine reader. Their preview looked futuristic and went viral. But after the iPad's actual release, it became clear that there just wasn't a huge demand for digital magazines.
The whole notion of yes, you like your magazine, but put that down, grab your iPad that you may not have bought yet or may not even have, and start sort of navigating around this new sort of media product in the same way that you would with a magazine. Seeing this, we could sort of tell this is going to be a bit tricky.
But if magazines weren't in demand, what were iPad users looking for? What types of things were they already doing with their devices? Bjorn and Emil's research revealed promising new directions. After reading a Sesame Workshop article from the Joan Gans Cooney Center, Bjorn learned about the passback effect. Parents were passing their devices back to kids at home, in the car, and everywhere else. And children were becoming proficient at using them.
Kids are already using this device. Now, it's a bit weird and odd in the sense that they are doing it, but nevertheless, this is happening and it's a very, very clear trend. So that's where sort of the journey began, in a sense. It's how could we explore and make something great, which is actually designed for this use case, which is already happening? What would that look like? And that kind of started the development journey in a way.
This journey led Bjorn down a rabbit hole, studying different types of play and blockbuster toys from previous years. Soon he turned his attention to creating interactive media for children on touchscreens. In this crowded market, saturated with learning apps and games, Bjorn aimed to make something entirely new. Open-ended apps modeling real-life play. He conceived digital toys, apps encompassing different forms of play, rather than games with winners and losers. Inspired by successful physical toy brands like Lego and Barbie, he envisioned a digital brand including different toys that work together in imagined worlds. Bonnier agreed to fund this new venture as an independent mobile company, albeit one completely outside of their core business. At first, they decided to call their company Rainbow Teeth, but legally it was an issue. Ubisoft owned the copyright on Rainbow in gaming with their Rainbow Six title. So instead, they changed the name to Toca Boca. It meant touch the mouth in Spanish. With Ubisoft's Rainbow gaming copyright, Toca Boca was a clever, distinctive fit for a touch-based kids app company. They just needed the logo to match.
The logo was it was a long journey. We worked with a local sort of Stockholm-based designer. And we wanted something which was sort of in the realm, I think this had more to do with our own personal preferences. Slightly, it's somewhere between sort of art, street culture, and sort of graffiti and street art, and kind of Japanese aesthetics, somewhere there, this sort of kawaii idea. And it was somewhere in between these three things. So there was a lot of exploration. But because what we knew from the beginning was we wanted to have a clear and distinct brand.
Early on, Toca Boca had a creative idea. Huh? Each app would have a unique animated intro, inspired by the visuals at the beginning of The Simpsons, and audio from the Swedish kids show Bully Bumpa. After hiring a small team of play designers, the 7 Toca Boca employees released their first app, Toca Helicopter Taxi, in 2011. Toca Tea Party and Toca Doctor soon followed. What made these early apps unique was that children used them alongside physical toys, blending both digital and analog play. The first 3 Toca Boca apps aimed to emulate different play styles and received modest downloads. But after this initial release period, the download numbers did not increase as expected. After projecting growth, Bjorn became concerned about the company's financial future, even contemplating selling Toca Helicopter to a commercial airline to stay afloat. But fortunately, their next release would put the company on the map.
The working name was originally Hairy Hippie Hair Salon. So a very hairy hippie came in who's sort of overgrown with mustache and beard and hair, and you kind of shave him into recognizability. That's the sort of the first idea, and then it kind of gradually turned into like, this is more of a hair salon. It looks a bit odd, looks a bit quirky, but it's not maybe so much about the styling and the outcomes, which a lot of the other hair apps were about. Like, let's make this look super good, or let's make this guy look like Justin Bieber or something like that. It's not really about the outcome. It was very, very focused on, is it fun while we're doing it?
Hairy Hippie Hair Salon was released as Toca Hair Salon, and it became an instant hit for children, teenagers, and adults. Players could cut, color, and style limitless, unique hairstyles on zany characters. Letting their creativity run wild, kids of all ages delighted in giving characters outrageous makeovers. Toca Hair Salon showcased Toca Boca's talent for crafting imaginative digital toys with wide appeal. Its runway success cemented them as innovators in children's app development. Most importantly, it validated their commitment to open-ended play over rigid gaming.
It had to be fun from the first swipe. So first time you sort of pull your finger across the screen and you hear this sort of cutting sound, and then the hair falls off. Immediately you get it. There's no tutorial, there's no demo, and you shouldn't really need one. So the fun thing tended to be like, it's just fun to cut the hair and see this character's reactions of what happens, as opposed to, I'm trying to accomplish a goal, I'm trying to level up. And this was very much in sort of the philosophy that we had around having digital toys as opposed to games. Like, you couldn't really win at it. It had no specific outcome. It should be the joy of creation in this case, and it was just in a hair salon setting. Pretty quickly, we could see this was going to have a different kind of commercial track than the others, and it was just like selling substantially better than the others.
Bjorn and his team were also navigating the new terrain of marketing apps in the iOS App Store. Making Toca Hair Salon temporarily free helped boost the download numbers. In turn, the high downloads increased Hair Salon's visibility in the App Store rankings. Since it was a fun, high-quality app, Hair Salon garnered rave reviews. This all generated buzz and word of mouth for Toca Boca. More and more users were learning about Toca Hair Salon, downloading it, and most importantly, having a lot of fun with it. It made Bjorn's small team start to believe in their unconventional vision.
I think it was the first thing that kind of opened our eyes a little bit to say, you know what, I think we could probably do this. There's more here. There's more here than we thought. And it's possible to get over these sort of initial thresholds that we had perceived with the other apps. And I think it's more than anything, maybe was just a confidence boost to say, I think this is possible. I think there is something here after all. And that was very much in debate at the time, whether there was something there or wasn't. So very, very grateful to this hair salon app actually to get the ball rolling like that.
Over the next few years, Bjorn and his team continued to develop and release new Toca Boca apps focused on different play styles. These included Toca Kitchen, one of Toca Boca's most classic and beloved apps, allowing open-ended play by mixing ingredients into crazy concoctions. Toca Band, a digital sandbox for kids to make their own music and songs. Toca Birthday Party, which lets kids plan and customize every detail of a virtual birthday party. Toca Builders, where kids could freely build and customize their own virtual islands, houses, and more. and Toca Cars, which gave kids their own neighborhood to race sports cars, vintage vehicles, and other customizable rides around town. Of course, there were also many others, including several popular sequels to Toca Hair Salon. By design, Toca Boca's team comprised mostly of play designers rather than app programmers. This helped ensure that their apps were fun, enjoyable, and playable for all. Extensive playtesting with children at their Sweden headquarters was key. If kids found an app wasn't enjoyable, Toca Boca would rework it. As Bjorn described, this iterative process was time-consuming, but worthwhile. And considering some of the early releases still rank at the top of children's apps, it's hard to argue with the results. In an appearance on the Novik Gaming podcast, Bjorn explained a little bit about this process.
It was a lot of playtesting, and with a team that did it very, very well and was very empathetic and very sort of open, and that in itself was a fine art to just try to get, like, how do you test with kids? Kids, in a sense, if you can sort of corner them correctly, so to speak, are very honest. If they don't like the app that you're showing, they'll just leave. They'll just leave the tests, at least younger kids. They'll just go away and play with something else. That's a very, very obvious, like, okay, we don't know exactly what's wrong, but we know that something is wrong. So the honesty is there.
By 2013, Toca Boca was a startup success, releasing 22 apps in just 2 years. That year, they acquired Zinc Row, makers of the Tickle Tap apps, which included the popular Doodlecast drawing app. Eventually, the studio based out of Toronto, Canada, became Sago Mini, Toca Boca's preschool division. But after a few months in 2014, Toca Boca would release an app that would become iconic to their brand.
In the beginning, it was more like a virtual dollhouse. Again, similar play pattern, things that we knew were established and worked well. Could we do something within this context that was more fun? So this is called Toca Town. And the first one was not an obvious success at all. It was doing okay, but not fantastic by any means. But it's clear sort of also that the visual style was quite appealing, and you could probably do more with that. So after the first one, it was actually my co-founder, as I remember it, Emil Obermeier, said, I think there's more here. It certainly was not obvious from the figures, but he said, I think there's more here. I think we should keep going. So then we made another one, which I think that's when we changed the name to Toca Life. So it was like Toca Life City, and that definitely did better. But then we're also starting to get a little bit better at doing these sorts of apps. Gradually, you could see sort of, well, what are the details in this, and what's the level of granularity? What sort of thing would you need to be able to do in order for this to be fun?
The Toca Life series would eventually include apps like Toca Life City, Toca Life School, Toca Life Vacation, Toca Life Stable, and Toca Life Office. You get the idea. Over time, the Toca Life apps grew hugely popular, consistently ranking at the top of the App Store's kids category. They embody Toca Boca's signature qualities: fun for all ages, open-ended play, and ease of use. But Toca Life added the ability to explore experiences not fully possible in the real world.
In Toca Life, you can flush things down the toilet. That's not something which is generally advisable and that parents would prefer their children not to do. And kids know this. It's something forbidden, but it's something that we enable because we know it'd be fun. You flush it down the toilet, it shows back up again. There's no plumbing in Toca Life. It doesn't have any real-life effects. But it's an example of something where the digital version of this is actually a little bit more fun. You can do sort of forbidden things in a sense that you can't really do in real life. And as we picked up on this, we also got gradually better at sort of executing it.
The dose of whimsical freedom and wish fulfillment resonated. Each new Toca Life app expanded the series' world and potential for imaginative play. Their enduring popularity cemented the brand's legacy. By 2016, Toca Boca had become the #1 children's app developer, amassing a huge following. To extend their brand, they plan to release a commercial line of kids' clothing and toys at major retailers like Target and H&M.
It was a branding idea really from the beginning, and that I think was the intention even when we started. I think if we go way back, I think the thought was it seems reasonable to assume that you can build a brand on the first screen for kids. The one that had done that the best was Angry Birds. They were sort of the first to really pioneer, look, you can build a brand which is globally identifiable and loved, but on the back of a mobile phone, as opposed to having a TV show, all the video that they came afterwards. And this is the same thing for us. We thought we could probably use the apps for this, but we always thought that there's probably more we could do here. There's probably other things that we could do.
The merchandise featured Toca Boca's signature cast of quirky characters and humorous designs. Fans could now support their favorite apps on t-shirts, dresses, and more. For Bjorn, it was a milestone seeing Toca Boca transform into a lifestyle brand beyond just apps. The merchandise helped introduce Toca Boca to a new audience and cemented their reputation as digital toy innovators.
If you have kids that are really into this and they love this, and it's also a way of giving that back, because I mean, these are not, enormous profit drivers. Maybe it seems that way, but this is not a huge business from that perspective, but it adds a lot of other things. It adds sort of a richness to the experience, and it allows, I think, for fandom in a different way. It's tricky to sort of express fandom when you only have something in one single place. You can find these things that you love in many different places, and I think we felt that we wanted to try that and see if that was, and that was very well received from the ones that were super fans, I think.
After an incredible run of nearly 5 years and over 140 million downloads, around 2015, Bjorn noticed Toca Boca's paid app model was plateauing. To grow, Toca Boca felt that they needed to move into the video category. This led to a new venture, Toca TV, a $5.99 ad-free streaming service pitched as TV you can touch. It featured original content, high-quality children's videos, and creative tools and filters for kids to make their own videos, which could be saved locally rather than being broadcast online. To launch Toca TV, Bjorn opened a studio in Brooklyn and hired J.Milligan, formerly of the Sesame Workshop, as executive producer, as well as a large team to support the new venture. But this pivot came at a cost. Toca Boca posted losses for the first time in years. The move into video would profoundly change Toca Boca, but even bigger changes loomed as parent company Bonnier decided to sell the brand. Despite success, after nearly 5 years of nurturing Toca Boca, Bonnier felt it was time for a new owner.
This was more like a research project, like an R&D project. Let's build a prototype, let's see how it goes, and just put it out there and kind of see what happens. So at no point had we decided we're going to be entrepreneurs within the kids space. Like, that decision was never really made. And on the flip side of that, our owners and the Bonnier Group, they never decided we want to be in the kids business, like we want to make kids. None of us had really made that decision. This just kind of unfolded. So sort of fast forwarding to sort of the process of like, okay, should we be selling or not? It came a little bit as a surprise, but maybe not entirely. I didn't think they were going to sort of go through with it completely, but it became clear that since they'd never really made a decision that they wanted to be in this space, they weren't maybe super committed to staying in it. And we were heading into a different direction. We were broadening. We're doing consumer products, t-shirts. We did videos. We were doing a lot of other things, and it was requiring more investment. And I think they felt maybe this is time to kind of pass the baton to someone else.
But finding the right buyer to pass that baton to in 2016 proved to be challenging. Bjorn, alongside Toca Boca COO Caroline Ingeborn, were tasked with identifying potential suitors. But they needed more than just a company with deep pockets. The ideal buyer would share Toca Boca's vision, creativity, and values, not just make the highest bid. They had to have the resources and commitment to nurture the brand's legacy.
I saw it as my job, like I need to find a new home for this place. I really care about the brand, I really care about the employees. I got to find somewhere that's going to take care of this in a good way, and I got to make sure that this is, that it lands well. For the lack of a better word, maybe sounds boastful, but like the legacy continues. I really felt like we were onto something, and I wanted to make sure that someone took this over and kind of made sure that we kept going.
With no clear option, the search dragged on. Meanwhile, Bjorn and the team stayed dedicated to keeping Toca Boca's culture of innovation thriving, while also overseeing the upcoming launch of Toca TV and the merchandising line. As you can imagine, he was exhausted, but remained patient, trusting the right partner would emerge to carry that baton. However, finding the right fit proved to be harder than anticipated.
That was not such an easy exercise as one would have thought. Like, you look at something successful today, you think, well, who wouldn't want that? Because it's so successful now, but it wasn't quite as successful at the time. And I think more importantly, the market was not so clearly defined. So you go around to, all the big kids entertainment companies that you could imagine. We met them all. But they don't really do apps like this. And they have a lot of other things. Maybe they're more strictly into animation, or they do TV shows, or they do regular toys. And so yeah, it was a very long process. It was quite challenging, frankly, and trying to sort of run it as if everything was completely normal, yet knowing at the same time nothing is normal. Everything is up in the air and could change at any time.
After an arduous search, in April 2016, Toca Boca was finally sold to Canadian toy company Spin Master, known for brands like Air Hogs, Bakugan, and Paw Patrol. Bjorn felt that their expertise in toys and entertainment made Spin Master the right steward for Toca Boca's future.
I was very relieved once we could kind of put that process to rest and get everyone back to, let's call it, normal work again, which was nice.
The acquisition of Toca Boca by Spin Master in 2016 proved advantageous for both buyers and sellers. Spin Master gained a foothold in digital gaming, while Bonnier was able to exit its investment in the thriving company. The deal also brought stability for Toca Boca's employees, who could continue their work with minimal disruption after the transition. However, as one Swedish website noted, this lucrative acquisition was positive for all parties, except Toca Boca's founders. Unlike many startup founders, Bjorn and Emil did not personally own any shares in Toca Boca as Bonnier employees. So when Toca Boca sold for millions, the financial windfall bypassed the creators. Without equity, Bjorn and Emil did not receive the sizable, life-changing payouts typically granted to visionary founders after an acquisition. For the co-creators, the deal brought positive outcomes for their creation, but little financial upside for the duo that helped conceive a category-defining mobile children's brand. As the sale closed, it was announced that Toca Boca would continue to run as an independent company under the Spin Master umbrella, with Bjorn staying on as CEO. But the draining ups and downs of the sale process had diverted Bjorn's time and resources from other projects, including the struggling Toca TV venture. By early 2017, Toca TV's subscriptions lagged far behind internal projections. After difficult conversations about what went wrong, in March, the decision was made to shut down Toca TV. Of course, this meant closing the Brooklyn studio and laying off the majority of the staff. It was gut-wrenching for Bjorn. Between the day-to-day pressures of running Toca Boca, launching Toca TV, finding a buyer, and now downsizing his company for the first time, Bjorn was burning out. Eventually, it got to the point where he contemplated leaving the company he co-founded and poured so much into building.
I just had my second daughter. Family life was becoming increasingly complex, and I was also realizing that it was quite difficult to be a present father and be a CEO in that way. It was, I wouldn't say it's completely mutually exclusive, but it certainly was challenging. Then also a combination, I think that the company deserves someone who's firing on all cylinders, super energized, ready to go, ready to put another, 5 to 7 years in at least to kind of ride the company to the next sort of the next goals. And for me, I felt maybe this is a little bit similar to what I've just done. I'm not sure that I'm necessarily the best person that can run it from this point. I'd taken it from nothing to something, and then someone else could take over from something to something bigger. It's sort of a different journey. I think my own motivations were a part of that. I think maybe I'm frankly better at other things. I'm better in a different sort of stage.
By July 2017, Bjorn made the difficult decision to resign from Toca Boca. Though he cared deeply for the company and his colleagues there, he had reached a breaking point. The stresses of the past few years had taken a heavy toll on his personal life and well-being. Though racked with guilt about leaving the company he co-founded, Bjorn knew he needed to prioritize self-care and rebuilding connections at home. It was perhaps the most agonizing professional choice he ever made.
It was a terrible decision, super difficult, very anxiety-ridden, to be perfectly honest. But I never looked back once I did it. So I strongly feel it was the right decision. It was just it was a long road to get there. And I think many entrepreneurs that have been in a similar situation would probably recognize what I'm describing.
After Bjorn's departure, Spin Master co-founder Renan Harari would take over as Toca Boca's CEO, with Caroline remaining as COO and Emil leading day-to-day operations. It marked a new beginning for both Bjorn and Toca Boca, which would each grow and thrive separately. After his time at Toca Boca, Bjorn embarked on new entrepreneurial pursuits, though he remained closely tied to the digital world. He began operating as an independent advisor and analyst, leading his expertise in digital strategy and consumer culture to various companies and clients. Additionally, Bjorn founded several new ventures of his own during this period. For a time, Bjorn even served on Rovio's board of directors, the parent company behind the viral mobile gaming sensation Angry Birds. Each week, while actively guiding and shaping multiple companies, Bjorn made time for passions outside of work. As an engaged husband and father, he lives in Malmö, Sweden, where he raises his 2 daughters. Seeking to share his insightful perspectives with the public, Bjorn recently began authoring a column focused on technology for a Swedish newspaper. As for Toca Boca, in 2018, under the Spin Master banner, the company launched its biggest app ever, Toca Life World. Rather than individual apps, it combined all Toca Life experiences into one mega app with different worlds to explore. From a business perspective, Toca Life World enabled in-app purchases like new worlds, clothing, and limited packs, something first explored under Bjorn.
We tried for so long, I want to say at least a year and a half, if not 2 years, probably more than 2 years, to try to make what is Toca Life World today. Technically, to try to figure out how can we connect all these, because obviously it makes sense that if you have a few of them, you'd want to move one thing from one place to another. So this was a technical challenge, but also to try to make it work on the App Store, which wasn't really designed from that perspective from the beginning. It was very driven from sort of the way in which the App Store had changed and the way in which people wanted to pay for content and things like that. The paid app market was very difficult. So that took a long time to get there, but is now by far the largest kids app, which is running, and still to this day is probably among at least top 3 largest kids apps in the world, I would imagine.
The app was a smash hit, introducing Toca Life to legions of new young fans. It showed that while Bjorn had moved on, his creative vision for Toca Boca remained vibrantly alive. Toca Life World sparked a new phenomenon. Users were not just playing the app, but creating and sharing videos of their in-app creations. Like the old What's Going On shorts, which were a staple on Toca TV, these fan-made movies gained huge popularity on YouTube. Channels dedicated to Toca Life World content emerged, gaining millions of views and subscribers. Popular ones include It's Toca Alice, Sharky Shark, Toca Nora, and Cute Bunny Toca, just to name a few. All of these channels popularized the dollhouse-style play of Toca Life World for all to see on YouTube. The Candy Cute channel alone has nearly 2 million subscribers, rivaling Toca Boca's own channel. These creator communities mimicked real-world play patterns with Toca characters, generating an immense online fan base. The emergent behavior showed Toca Life World transcending a mere game, becoming a creative platform for shared storytelling. The app empowered fans to produce their own narratives and find a built-in audience, organically spreading awareness of Toca Boca.
As time went on, you could kind of see the beginnings of this. It's not really about Toca Life. It's just it's a tool or medium or however you want to phrase it for kids to express something and kind of contextualize them in a way that otherwise might have been difficult to happen. So that, I think, seemed very natural, like, well, we should facilitate that. But of course, the community is a different beast. You know, we can't control it. It's not on our channels. It's not on our platforms. It has its own life in a way, which is super fascinating. And I think you can kind of fuel the fire a little bit. You can work with some encouragement to sort of encourage the right sort of behaviors. but you can't control it. I think that it kind of has a life of its own, and in a sense, it's quite beautiful to see once it happens.
In a 2021 call with investors, Renan Harari explained this phenomenon.
Kids are playing games, videoing themselves, and streaming the videos onto platforms such as TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube for others to watch. Toca Boca has seen explosive growth in consumer engagement over the past year, and we believe that this major factor behind Toca Life world growth.
Spin Master had pushed animation since acquiring Toca Boca. Capitalizing on Toca Life World's popularity, Spin Master greenlit an animated series, Toca Life Stories, produced by Pipeline Studios, the animation company behind Bubble Guppies and other Nickelodeon series. Toca Life Stories follows fan-favorite app characters like Rita, Zeke, Nari, and Leon, with cameos by other popular Toca personalities. Originally a web series, Toca Life Stories also aired on Cartoon Network, Amazon Prime, and other networks.
I thought it's cool. I think it was very, quite brave and sort of an interesting expression, but also it kind of speaks to the fandom as well. It adds a component to something. It enriches that world a little bit more. It adds another dimension. Suddenly you have a voice, and of course you can choose to disregard that, and you can run your own thing, and it can stay as, if you will, neutral to your own imagination as you will, or if you want to, you can read something else into it as well. So I thought that was quite a brave departure in a sense.
The show allowed Toca Boca's brand and characters to flourish across mediums. Its lighthearted stories of friendship and adventure and overall silliness captured the essence of the apps. Between the user-generated fan content and the animated series from Spin Master, the multi-platform presence introduced Toca Life World to wider audiences worldwide. The ripple effect of this strategy was staggering. By 2021, Spin Master reported a whopping 400% surge in their digital game revenue. The surge was largely fueled by skyrocketing sales of Toca Life World in-app purchases and the fresh introduction of a subscription service to Sego Mini School. Astoundingly, the Toca Boca app universe boasts over 76 million active users each month. Taking innovation a step further, Spin Master ventured into uncharted territories. They began weaving in iconic characters from renowned brands like Sanrio's Hello Kitty and Nickelodeon's SpongeBob SquarePants. This marked a groundbreaking moment. For the first time, characters outside of the original Toca Life brand graced Toca Life World. It's a slight detour from Bjorn's original vision, but it speaks to the evolving landscape of the brand.
Obviously the platform is now so large. There's a lot of people that would like to do that kind of collaboration, but it's not a good fit for everything, and they're very careful and particular and have this sort of eye for quality, and that's always been paramount for the company. So I think as long as it's the right brand collaborations, I think it enhances it. And also I think since it's not sort of a core functionality, you can choose to disregard it. It's not forced upon you. It's optional. And as long as that's the case, and you kids can keep kind of playing with it in whatever way they like, I think I like it. I think it can add a dimension that's tricky to develop yourself.
Acquiring Toca Boca in 2017 was a pivotal move, signaling the dawn of Spin Master's bold foray into the digital games realm. Using Toca Boca and Sego Mini as a blueprint, Spin Master replicated this acquisition strategy with other digital game assets. As a result, their gaming division has been on an upward trajectory, bolstered by these strategic buys. Today, digital games with Toca Life World leading the charge account for 20% of Spin Master's total revenue, with grand visions on the horizon. But what's next for Toca Boca? At the Digital Games Investor Day in Stockholm, Sweden, of all places, Spin Master dropped a major announcement: the launch of their next Toca Life venture, Toca Days. Envisioned as a 3D multiplayer extravaganza set in the expansive Toca Boca universe, fans can eagerly anticipate its debut in 2024. Toca Boca's meteoric rise post the Spin Master acquisition is a testament to Bjorn's visionary bet on digital toys back in 2009 while at Bonnier. Amidst an app store teeming with adult-designed learning apps and games, Bjorn discerned a golden opportunity. After extensive research, Bjorn, Emil, and the dynamic Toca Boca team embarked on a mission to craft fun, engrossing, and open-ended games mirroring traditional play. The unparalleled success of Toca Boca and the Toca Life series is a resounding affirmation on their pioneering approach. What started as mere digital toys soon blossomed into an iconic brand, adored by a spectrum of ages and fervently supported by a vibrant, imaginative community.
It's a beautiful thing. I have to assume that it's contributing a lot of fun to a lot of people, and it's evoking some emotion. What an intention that we had that we used to speak about was like, it'd be nice to see if we could create childhood memories. How could we create memories that would be something that kids would grow up and say, oh yeah, I remember that. It's just a small little sliver of this kind of tapestry that is childhood, and it's nice, and it's a real privilege to be able to be a part of that.
So remember back in 2011 when Toca Boca launched Toca Helicopter Taxi, created by the original team of just 7? To mark that modest launch, they celebrated with a fittingly unpretentious bottle of cheap champagne. Now fast forward over a decade, with a trail of success, hundreds of thousands of downloads, and a revenue that skyrocketed into millions, I'd say it's high time for everyone who had a hand in the success of Toca Boca, past and present, to celebrate with another toast. Here's hoping this time they opt for a better bottle. But then again, these are the people who gave us Toca Life World. Knowing this group, they'll probably just flush the bottle down the toilet just for laughs. But whether or not any actual bottles are harmed, in all seriousness, here's to Toca Boca for inspiring generations of kids to play, create, and see the world more playfully and with a lot more fun.